Welcome back to the Money Wisdom Podcast, powered by Johnson Brunetti. My name is Jake Dozer, certified financial planner, certified private wealth advisor, and advisor on the team here in Connecticut, joined, of course, by Nick Colantuono, certified financial planner, up in our Boston, Massachusetts offices. Nick, welcome back. Good to see you as always.
Thank you, Jake.
Yes, sir. Well, we have a question that we've been going through. We've been going through a series of questions that folks have written in and asked about. And we figured instead of just answering the question to those folks specifically, why don't we open up the conversation so that everyone can glean from it? And so here we are. So the question we have in front of us today is, how do you typically meet with clients, and what kind of communication from a financial advisor should be expected? That's a fair question. You know, it's really hard to measure whether or not a relationship is valuable to you and what you're going to get from it until you kind of define what that relationship is. We as a firm wide have general practices that we tend to adhere to. And there are general rules of thumb in this answer, along with unique life-specific answers for each and every client. But Nick, why don't you start us off? What does a regular relationship on an ongoing basis look like with a client, both from what do we do for them, what does that look like on a frequency basis, and what does communication look like from us? If you'll start us off.
Yeah, happy to, Jake. And it's a great question because you need to make sure that wherever you're going to get your advice is one, valuable to you, and that there's just an open line of communication there. I mean, at least this is my view, I feel we're so out in front of our clients as far as always being just there, whether it's on a weekly basis through our emails or podcasts, things that we're doing like this, of course. But the easiest way to sum it up is I always tell the clients that we're working with, when you need us, we're here. Right. So there's never a scenario where someone should feel that they're looking for advice and guidance and we're not available to give it to them. So we're always encouraging people to reach out. But our just standard practices, we're meeting with our clients at least once or twice a year. And that's for those full blown, diving deep reviews, looking at everything from their expenses to their taxes, to their income, to their, of course, performance, to any sort of changes that need to be made, whether it's from a market standpoint or from again, an income or a tax standpoint. So, at least, one or two times a year doing that deep dive review. But as I mentioned, throughout the year, there is almost, I would say there's never a week that goes by that our clients aren't getting communication with us. And again, whether they're the letters that we put out, newsletters, articles, different resources, whether they turn on the TV on the weekends and they see us there. So again, it is very much a relationship that's based on communication, which it has to be, because the clients that are coming in and meeting with us, Jake, as you know, there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. There are a lot of changes almost year in and year out, just in this finance and Social Security and Medicare and all these other decisions that our clients are faced with. So communication absolutely is at the core of our relationship with our clients.
Well, and that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. It is communication. It's we're here when you need us. Proactively and reactively, there's different ways we handle that. To your point, I would say on average that's accurate. Once to twice a year is probably what we tend to do to meet with folks. Maybe once a year, we're talking about big picture stuff. Are there strategic changes that need to be happening, either based on market conditions or based on circumstances of one's life? Hey, maybe you just retired and we need to flip the switch from grow to now we're looking to create income. And what does that look like logistically? Do you need it monthly? Do you need it a little bit a quarter? Do you need it just here and there as you need it? And you just call us for that. It could also be that maybe once a year, maybe at the beginning of the year when tax filing is happening, or at the end of the year, we're having a conversation to say, hey, you remember our last conversation? We tentatively were targeting to accomplish this. Let's maybe have a conversation in the fall. It's often Roth IRA conversions. Is there enough space between your current income and your next tax bracket to take advantage of some proactive tax paying? And so really, we'll try to do our best to lead the conversation proactively. And then we react by being available. When you need us, we'll be here. And if you tell me A has changed in your life, all of a sudden you need more income, well, that probably means your investments should change. I think it's important to caution folks that a relationship probably shouldn't be too frequent, in the sense that you're meeting once a month and feeling like you need to change everything every time you meet. That's dangerous on the other side, because that kind of implies that there's an element of timing the market. And we want your plan to be unique and customized to your life cycle and the way you use your money. But we also don't want to be jumping in and out of the market. That's a fool's errand. Warren Buffett famously said it's not about timing in the market, it's not about time in the market. It's about time in the market. And so trust the plan. But if the plan needs adjusting because your relationship with money is changing, well, certainly that should adjust. I think that we kind of talked about frequency. Nick, you mentioned some of the behind the scenes touches that we have, such as the weekly market update that Joel provides, our managing partner, quarterly newsletters telling you what's going on and some things to be aware of, events that are educational in nature for you and even those who don't work with us that we could potentially help beyond these walls. We typically do a retirement simplified event once or twice a year, which is our sort of State of the Union, where Joel or one of our partners is going to stand up and talk about what's going on in the market, how that pertains to our clients who are about to retire or recently, and what that means for our behind the scenes decisions. There's so many things. It seems like communication is key and critical. And I certainly find that that's true. Nick, do you find that people want to meet more often than once or twice a year? What are the circumstances where that's appropriate? And then also, what would you say are some circumstances where maybe people could use it as a litmus test that might not work with us to gauge like, hey, I'm not getting enough communication? What's that look like?
Right. Well, look, there's a fine line between too little communication and too much communication. And, we have those initial conversations or the consultations when folks are coming in and it's, oh, you have an existing, financial advisor relationship. And it's like, well, yeah, but I haven't talked to them in 5 years. Well, it's okay. That's not really a relationship. Maybe something transactional happened 5 years ago and, you thought it was more of a relationship than what it was. And, on the other hand, we've also seen people who, unfortunately, the relationship with their advisor is so good, yet the plan itself might not be. And they're hesitant to make a change because it's more personal than it is, quote, business, or, it's more about the relationship that they have and they don't want to, offend someone by moving money or, quote, firing that person, even though it might actually be the best thing for them. So again, it's a very delicate balance. Everything we do from a communication standpoint is first and foremost just made to inform and educate our clients because, again, I don't take it for granted that, you and I, Jake, we're having these conversations all day, every day, and we have for our entire career. Meanwhile, the folks we're sitting down with, they're having these conversations once, twice a year. We're talking less than a handful of times in their lives. So on top of that, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of places where our clients are getting information and advice, outside of just us, even though we might be their financial planners. So it's all about how do you navigate all that? And that's where we are so proactive with communication. And it's critical. And we love seeing our clients outside of the office. You mentioned these whether it's our Money, Wine, and Wisdom series that we do, which are quarterly client events where we encourage people to bring folks that they know who are approaching retirement. Again, just a way we're in a group forum, you can get some really pertinent and really good market and planning information. It might not be specific to you, but it's very good high level stuff that we're always just re-engaging our clients throughout the year, treating them as if they're people who we're inviting to that first dinner or that first workshop. It's very important to just keep communication front and center, and we really aim to do that with our clients.
Retirement isn't just about stopping work. It's about starting the life you want. Make sure you're ready with your free Are You Ready to Retire starter kit. Text the word KIT, K-I-T, to 800-757-0436. Text KIT to 800-757-0436 and take the first step toward a future you're excited about.
That's critical. I think that, just to sort of wrap that mind around that idea, is communication should be central. It should be primarily driven through the proactive advice of your advisor, but reactive when your relationship with money changes, not reactive based on market conditions. It should be predicated upon a bedrock of trust and expertise, where you have confidence that each of your accounts are serving an expected end and those needs are being met holistically, where all of your accounts are working in harmony or complementing one another. And it should be something where you can get a hold of somebody when you need to hear from them. Hopefully today's conversations has been helpful in giving you a litmus test or helping to concrete that relationship that you have. Again, Jake and Nick with Johnson Brunetti's Money Wisdom Podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through JB Capital LLC. Insurance products offered through JN Financial LLC.